It's the new year, and while I hate to start 2022 off on a down note, I'm afraid I have some bad news. I'm afraid to announce that the membership guys are no more. I'll tell you why in just a moment, but for one last time, let's hear that introduction.
You're listening to the Membership Guys podcast, bringing you proven, practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business each and every week. And now, here's your host, Mike Morrison.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 339 of the Membership Guys podcast. In fact, the final episode of the Membership Guys podcast. So this episode is a milestone. It's a big one. We've got some huge news as relates to the show and to the Membership Guys as a whole. And of course, to deliver such monumental news, I had to be joined by the one and only Callie Willows, the better half. Usually I say the other half. I just instinctively said the better half. I'm learning, right?
I was going to say 11 years, you get there in the end.
The other half, many would say the better half of the Membership Guys, who has joined to explain what's going on and why the Membership Guys are sadly no more.
And I'll introduce myself because you forgot my name and all of that. So.
I said Callie. I did say your name, right?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure I did. We're going to have to edit this whole little bit out, but you guys know who it is, right? It's Callie. It's the other one. It's the one with the curly hair. The one and only Callie Willows, the other half of the Membership Guys. So you know that business is about to pick up. You know it's going to get serious when the boss comes on the show to keep me in check. We've got a big announcement. Today, we are officially bidding farewell to the Membership Guys. And in doing so, we are saying hello to Membership Geeks.
Woohoo!
Yay! We need some sort of effect or clap. I can't remember what button is for the applause. Let's see. Well, that's the laugh. So, that was...
Well,
yeah, that'll do. That'll do. It's positive. At least it wasn't the wah, wah, wah noise, which I do have programmed on here.
Kind of wish we'd made a new year, new brand, who dis kind of gift to go alongside this. But, too late now.
Too late. Those of you who've been a bit eagle-eyed will have spotted some of the hints that we've been dropping on social. This is a big, big shift for us. So today we're going to be telling you all about that rebrand.
Yeah, it's an odd one because we've changed the name, so we're now Geeks, not Guys.
Yeah. But
when you say it like that, it does feel like it's been a huge thing for us. This is something we've been working on for months behind the scenes. It's been a lot of discussion and, a lot of work with the team, but it actually feels a little bit underwhelming at the same time.
Ultimately, we're just changing one word in our name, right? And we're doing what Facebook did. We're dropping the. Yeah. Finally, the. So it's just Membership Geeks. It does seem a little bit underwhelming. But truth is, it's one of those things that is a huge thing for us. But at the same time, we shouldn't say this, but it's a little bit of a non-event in many ways. However, there are a few key reasons that we're making this change. So we thought we'd share them with you and also let you in on some of our plans going forward, particularly with this podcast and with some of the other things we've got going on in our world. So first of all, if this is such a small thing or such a non-event, why do it? Why go from Guys to Geeks? Well, honestly, Guys has always been a bit of an awkward word. We've always used that word from day one of us starting to put our content out publicly. And for us to kind of personally in day-to-day life, we use Guys as a pretty casual, informal way to just refer to a collective of people, a group of people. Hey, how are you guys doing? What's up with you guys? You'll have heard pretty much every single episode I do of this show. It's like, hey guys, you're listening to blah, 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 right? We don't use it to infer any gender or anything like that. But the fact is, it is a gender term, and the way that we use it honestly doesn't sit well with everyone.
Yeah, and I think it's a very British thing to use the term guys to refer a group. So obviously,
although I think it's more American in its kind of.
No, I would say it's more of a British thing.
We're going to argue. We're going to fight already, aren't we?
Yeah, I would definitely say I know more Brits who just use the "hey guys" as a referring.
And that might actually be from just picking it up from American kind of culture that makes its way over here and just kind of using it in our own way. Yeah, what are those guys doing? Hey, what's? Yeah.
And I think I've never personally had an issue with that, even as the female half of the guys. Yeah. But over the last year or two in particular, I've personally found myself making a concerted effort not to say it in the membership anymore. It's taken a lot of training, but I don't start things with "hey guys" anymore, because we do have a very international member base, some of whom do see the word differently, and we always aim to create as inclusive a space as possible. So kind of changing language in that way, I think very much over the last few years, it's been a pervading force in social media, in content, in just the world in general, that kind of closer look at what words actually mean and how they affect people.
There's more impetus to actually, think outside of exactly what we just said before, how we use it, how we see it. And, regardless of your viewpoint on that yourself, if you think it's, guys is fine as just everything, that's cool. That doesn't mean that you're wrong or that you need to police what you're saying. But I think when you're a membership site owner, when you have, thousands of members from all corners of the world, many of whom just won't even have that word in their day-to-day, vocabulary, there is that bit of responsibility for you to just think, okay, actually, like, what am I saying? And does this translate? Does this, does it make it more of a inclusive, welcoming kind of place to be? Or is there a chance that this word that is kind of, to us, just thrown around kind of casually, is there a chance that, it's not a big deal for us to use it or not use it, but to some people, us using it might be a big deal. So actually, we're not getting anything out of using it, then it doesn't cost us anything to rethink that, right?
Yeah, and I think while it's not been a huge issue for us, in all honesty, over the last 6 or so years, in terms of people asking us to change the name or even commenting on it, we've maybe had only a dozen or so actual comments about the name, and usually it's more along the lines of, why is it guys if one of you is a girl?
Yeah.
I think when something starts to feel uncomfortable in your brand, though, it's a sign that you should reassess it. Yeah. And if we can have a brand that we like better, that's more suited to us and that doesn't lead to questions or even discomfort for some of our audience, then we'd rather have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this isn't, I think the important thing of pointing out there is, this isn't like us bowing to the pressure of, 10,000 people signing a petition to make us change our name or anything like that. We're not doing it because someone's pulled us up on it or said, you shouldn't be using this sort of language. Yeah. It's more just a conscious decision that, as time's gone on, there's reasons it's felt a little more awkward to us that are actually different to the sort of stuff we're talking about, the more societal stuff. It is just that thing of, anytime people remark about it, it's kind of like, oh, hang on, but it's you and Callie. It's like it's a guy and a girl, right? So why is it guys? And we got that comment, the guys thing, on day one, I think,
I was going to say pretty much day one of announcing
the brand.
Yeah,
we announced the brand, and I think that was the first comment that we got. And so it wasn't why are you saying guys? Do you not realize that's, that causes issues with inclusivity? It was more is this a bit of a dumb name for a male female?
Or people trying to work out if I was actually a guy or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. And I think especially over the last year, as our team has grown, we now are predominantly a female company. It's 2 guys, 4 women. So even then, just the guys...
How did I get outnumbered? How did that happen?
Even then, just looking at the collective business, it's skewed more in that the guys doesn't really work. And also, I think Membership Geeks is more inclusive to you guys as an audience as well, because yes, we're membership geeks, but if you're listening to this, you're a membership geek too. You love talking and thinking about all things membership. So Membership Geeks doesn't just apply to us, it applies to you guys, our audience as well.
Absolutely.
And I realised I just said guys there. So
yeah. That's what I mean. Like we just throw that, that's just the language we use, and we're not going to start kind of slapping ourselves on the wrist anytime we'll just use that in regular parlance. But for the brand, that's definitely a factor. It's not the only thing. It's perhaps not the biggest driving force, other than the confusion, I think. The confusion and also the knowledge that, it's more likely to cause an issue than solve one.
Yeah.
Right? The word guys does literally nothing for us in our brand. It's boring. It's bland. It's generic. It's what? Right? And that is a larger part of the reason for the change. It might come as a bit of a surprise to you that we are both massive, massive geeks, both in general, in terms of regular geeky stuff, culture, video games, comic books, superhero movies, all that nerdy stuff and geeky stuff. But specifically, we are huge geeks about online memberships, as Callie was saying. We all, you guys listening and us, we are people who geek out about the membership business model. So the name Membership Geeks is actually more suited to us. It tells you a little more about us. It reflects our personality a bit more, but also our passion and our obsession with this industry. And it's just more fun. It's more us. Guys is such a bland, generic, nothing, filler word from a branding perspective. It tells you nothing about us other than there's more than one of us. And actually, it probably gives you the wrong impression. If you do look at guys as being a gendered term, then having it in the brand is confusing. It's an inaccurate word. Whereas geeks, right away, there's a lot more of us in that word.
Yeah, and I think the Membership Guys was always one of those names that we've always been a fan of, does what it says on the tin kind of name, simple, to the point. And if I remember correctly, way back when we were starting the business in 2015, Membership Geeks was on our list of names, but we couldn't get the domain name, which is a running thread through the business. Nobody else was using it, but we couldn't get it.
Yeah, someone else had it registered, but they were just sitting on it. And years later, we would actually, just by happenstance, become friends with the person who owned the domain name. Without realizing it was them. We didn't hunt them down and then decide, okay, this is our plan. First, we befriend him. Then we steal his domain. But yeah, I mean, it was on the drawing board and it wasn't available. In the same way that Membership Academy wasn't available. So this is kind of almost part two of that brand course correction that we started in, was it 2018?
2018, we changed the Academy name,
Yeah, so going from Member Site Academy to Membership Academy, which was always the name of the Academy. Like, we've still got versions of the designs for the Academy that have Membership Academy on it until, we realized each of us had assumed the other had bought the domain name. And we had bought the .co.uk because we figured, well, it's just going to be this kind of small, intimate, UK-based membership business, right? Wrong. So it was, again, this is what, 7 years now in the making, this rebrand.
Yeah, and I think, the thing I do love about that name, and, by the time this goes out, you'll be seeing the new branding and all of that good stuff. And it does give you more character, gives you more about us in that term. And that's something that we're really intending on bringing out even more from now on. As we've grown the team, our business, our audience, our community, and as we've got more confidence in ourselves as well, we've gotten more mindful about not wanting to get lost in the shuffle. There's a lot more people talking about memberships out there these days. Yeah. And we're also not wanting to lose that personal touch and personal presence, and wanting to make sure that our personalities are infused into everything we do, so that obviously you're wanting information about memberships from us, but we also want to connect with you a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think that evolution and the growth that we've undergone in the past 7 years, that's such an important factor, because back in 2015, when we started this, the Membership Guys were the two people that you would see in this little Facebook group that we had. And we'd be in there all the time. We'd be the most seen names in there. And if you were to speak to anybody in our business, there was only us two available, right? So we were there, right? We were in everything. But obviously now that little Facebook group where every other post was us now has 19,000, I think we just hit. And while, we have a presence in there, the business and our team have presence in there, there's 19,000 people, right? We're not we're not every other post in that way. If you want to, speak to someone in our company, there's us, but there's also Hannah, there's Catherine, there's Tom, there's Laura. If you're getting tech stuff in the forum, there's Neil. If we've got our extended team of subcontractors as well, and fantastic partners that we work with. So there is that kind of thing of like wanting to make sure that maybe our stamp, which was always a lot easier to have on things back in the day because we were all there was. Now there is that thing of like, listen, we can't be replying to every single post in the Facebook group. We just can't. That's a reality. We can't be the people who reply to every single email first up when it might come into us. But we want to make sure, our presence, our stamp is felt. And that definitely couples up with this rebrand of giving us more of an outlet and more of just a reminder to infuse our ethos, our personality, the way that we do things into absolutely everything that we do, so that, we're always there.
Yeah, definitely. And as we said before, it's a change we were going to make in 2018, but we decided then we weren't going to actually make the switch. And I think it's interesting then why we decided not to and why we're making the change now instead, because as we mentioned before, we were changing the Academy name at the time, so it seemed natural to change both at once.
Yeah, and there was a little part of it which was kind of like, okay, changing both at once, maybe that's too much change. Maybe there's a risk that people will think, okay, well, the Membership Geeks with Membership Academy, and then there's the Membership Guys with Member Site Academy. So maybe there was a tiny risk of brand confusion, but we were going to take that risk. We were going to roll the dice. We were going to make that change in 2018. We'd acquired the domain name from the friend who just so happened to own it. He very generously gifted it to us because, he bought it for something he never went on to pursue.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, Mr. David Foster of Overland Geek.
Yes.
Overland Geek or Overland Geeks?
One of the two.
One of the two. See,
he's just recently changed his domain as well.
See, there's the thing. Is it Geek? Is it Geeks? I'm pretty sure it's Geek. Overland Geek. So yeah, we had decided we were going to make the switch, time it with the switch to Membership Academy. Let's kill as many branding birds with one stone. We'd got a little bit tired of the Membership Guys logo as well, and we actually refreshed that logo around the time. So okay, let's just do it all in one big go. But when we talk to people in our network, people we trust, people whose opinions we usually seek out, the reaction was a little underwhelming and kind of discouraging, and enough so that it put us off.
Yeah, I remember we were in a little mastermind meeting and we were quite excited. We were unveiling these plans to people, and people were kind of like, really? Why are you doing that? You're quite well known as the Membership Guys, so why are you changing that now, kind of thing. I remember the response immediately being quite deflating.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, again, some of that feedback was a case of like, okay, well, are you not worried if you make this change, then it'll impact the brand equity you built up? Some of it was that it was kind of change for the sake of change. We were just doing it for something to do.
Yeah. And I think, we were still, we were 3-4 years in at the time, but we were still building the brand. We were still getting our names known and things. And so in some respects, that made it a good time to do it before we were too established, because now we're 7 years in as being known as the Membership Guys. There is that slight apprehension about, suddenly changing the name that people have come to know.
And I think that apprehension was a little higher in 2018. And so we were kind of expecting, when we started talking to people who, again, people we're related to in business, but who are our friends who know us personally, we were expecting like such a positive reaction. So because we already had that awareness that, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a branding risk to this, but this actually could be really exciting, when everyone else was like, ugh, actually, no, that just don't do it. That totally took the wind out of our sails. And actually some of the feedback, I'm not going to mention who it was from, because it got my defenses right up, because it was suggested that we might not be geeky enough to brand ourselves as geeks. It was kind of like, well, if you're going to call yourself, you don't want to call yourself geeks unless, if you're not actually geeks, you don't have the cred. I was totally offended.
You were.
I want to whip out a full rundown of my extensive geeky credentials. And it is a very, very long list. And Callie has told me I'm not allowed to just rattle off all of my geeky accolades. But, and I think particularly those of you who are members, who are in the academy, probably it's not a well-kept secret that we are massive nerds, massive geeks. But, it's never really been a big part of the public-facing brand. And so, it's that kind of thing of if someone who sort of knows us, who has that little bit more of an insight into the business, into the brand or whatever, is actually looking and thinking, well, you don't really have the geeky stuff to back up being branded as geeks, then again, that was more of a chance that, okay, maybe there'll be a little bit of a mismatch between what we're putting out there and how we conduct ourselves and how we talk and our voice and the name we want to change to.
Yeah, and in fairness, it was from someone who didn't really know either of us as well.
On a personal level, like day to day
level.
Yeah.
So, but it did make us question if we were doing it for the lazy option, as in, just hoping that by changing the name, our brand would have personality now and people would know we're geeky because it's in the name. Yeah. So then we would just carry on as usual.
It's in the name.
And I think, for a name like this, we kind of knew at the time to go with that membership Geeks. We had big plans, but we would have to lean into it fully. And I don't think either of us was ready to lean into it fully back then, or at least I certainly wasn't. I think 2022 is the year Callie comes out of her shell and can embrace the full public geekness.
Oh no.
But I've always been a lot shyer, a lot more hesitant about talking publicly, putting things on social media and things like that. And I think to fully embrace the Membership Geeks name, we need to be a lot more out there. We need to put more of ourselves out there.
And the thing is, membership, we keep saying, it's the name. The name. It's not. It's a statement.
Yeah.
It's a statement about who we are and what we do and how we conduct ourselves and our personality and all that sort of stuff. And honestly, back then it was a bit of a lazy option. It was kind of, I know we've had the conversations about, okay, Membership Guys is a dry brand as just a name in and of itself. Even the logo back then as well was as kind of dry as it comes.
And we're not that boring, really.
We're not that boring. Hopefully, if you've made a 339 episodes into the podcast, then hopefully you'll agree we're not that boring, really. But Membership Guys is a kind of a boring brand, right? But yeah, I do think there was a big aspect of kind of like, okay, the way to unboring it is to change to a name that's a little less boring, but without any real commitment, I suppose, to actually developing it into a brand in terms of what it means for the voice of the business, what it means for, our principles and how we reflect those in the company, how we do what we do. And a lot's changed, I think, between 2018, just even in terms of, if you think back then, we weren't really showing up on camera, on video.
Not publicly, no. We'd only just started doing that in the membership.
Just started doing it in the membership.
And in fairness to Mike, a lot of that was me. I'm quite camera shy. I'm quite shy in general, quite introverted, let's say. So I think it's taken a while for me to get comfortable.
Yeah, and some of that has just been time. Some of that has been just building that confidence, particularly with getting on video, with making yourself seen, with becoming face of the brand, because it's not something I've ever struggled with to the point where I've not done it. I'm introverted. We all have. I've spoken about mental health before on the podcast. I'm not one of those frustratingly uber confident people who will just rock up and be camera ready and just go for it. But I can wing it enough to get through.
You can turn
right?
it on.
Yeah, and I've done the public speaking and I do the podcast, and so there was a lot. Anything on that front was largely kind of me. And then when people joined the membership, that's actually where they would see you a lot more. Yeah.
And I think that's always been a slight dichotomy, that on the public facing side of things, then it was very much the brand was around you.
Yeah.
Whereas in the membership, members tend to see and hear a lot more of me than you perhaps.
Absolutely. Particularly then.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got the fantastic Hannah, our community manager, who's a big part of welcoming new members alongside yourself. But back then it was pretty much just you.
Yeah.
It was you that they would hear from first. It was you that they'd hear from fastest. It was you that hear from the most, generally. And then I'd rock up every now and then because they wanted you. But yeah, so a lot has changed in the last 3 years. This is a move that is 3 years in the making. Timing, I think, now is definitely right for a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, there are going to be some changes that we've been planning for a while that give us more of an opportunity to infuse more of our personality into our content and into our social channels and so on. This would be happening anyway, but having it coincide with a rebrand just kind of makes sense, and it ensures that we're 100% us from the get-go with some of the new things that we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And second, it's also been a crazy couple of years thanks to a little thing called the pandemic, which some of you might have heard of. And while we're definitely not out of the woods and back in business as usual by a long shot, it does feel like this year is the one where we and the world start bouncing back, stop just getting by and come out refreshed and renewed. So again, the timing of that fits with the rebrand and kind of the energy we want to go into this new year with. And to get even a little more woo now, as Mike rolls his eyes at me, I also, as we're talking, find it interesting that it is almost 7 years to the day since we started the business, because, you know, things tend to work in 7-year cycles where you have that 7-year renewal cycle.
Okay, you're getting a bit woo-woo now.
I'll stop.
Do we
now,
need to change the name? Do we need to change the name of the business again? Okay, we're moving away from geeky. We're moving into like woo-woo. Woo-woo hippie stuff.
Membership hippie.
Membership hippies.
But yeah, so I do think the timing going into 2022, that energy has changed, I think.
Yeah, there's a almost a reinvigoration that it feels is coming from this brand, and the timing kind of aligns with all of that. And yeah, you know, we're definitely not out of the woods in terms of what's going on globally, but this is the year. I mean, it's got to be, right? Like, it's got to be.
Fingers crossed, everyone.
Yeah, this is the year where I think it's like, okay, like the deep water, we're hopefully out of that now for the most part. Right, now is when we actually start kind of pushing forward for sure. Now is when we start really sort of kicking things back in and getting back out there and
planning some member meetups again.
Yeah, hopefully. Man, we've been, before this happened, we had big plans for a US and a UK almost roadshow. Like, we were just going to hit the road and go to like a dozen different cities in the US and meet up with members and put on little events and stuff like that. But yeah, retain 20, God knows when. Retain live 20 whenever.
Yeah. Might
happen, might not happen, who knows. So yeah, we've got, hey man, we don't want to wait. We've got plans. And so, yeah, this, it feels like something that is starting this kind of new reinvigorated push. So yeah. And so that's kind of the second reason. Third, we now have such a fantastic team behind us that I think our confidence is as high as it's ever been to help us really, really feel we can do this right. A particular shout out on that front needs to go to our phenomenal designer, Tom, who has kind of already started shifting a lot of the visual side of what we're putting out there in a geekier direction anyway. We didn't tell him to, but, you know, he just tapped into that and started doing it anyway, just because it kind of came naturally and he felt it fit with the brand and it was kind of more his thing, our thing, all that sort of stuff. The eagle-eyed people amongst you might have already noticed, you know, he's almost started a little Membership Geeks extended universe within our podcast graphics. We've got recurring characters, we've got our little worlds and stuff like that feature across different episodes.
Membership Geeks the game coming in 2023.
Yeah, we've got like a little Skyrim kind of world that pops up in different sets of artwork with, again, those recurring characters who keep dropping by. And if you've not noticed, this is now your homework, right? Go back through the archive and kind of see if we can spot the little recurring geeky themes. And yeah, we didn't ask him to do any of that, by the way. He just thought it was fun. And he's a bit geeky. We're geeky. He thought it fit how we do things. And so he's kind of been nudging us that way anyway. And I know he's champing at the bit to really get stuck into even more of a geeky theme graphically too. So having that team behind us, and of course, you know, we mentioned Hannah. Hannah's on the inside of the membership. We'll also see Hannah in the Facebook group too. She's a big part of interacting with our members. We've got Catherine on the content team, who, again, I think a year ago, Catherine had just started. Tom had only just started, and Hannah was a few weeks away from starting. So now we're a year on. We're fully equipped now to do this right. So, yeah. Now, as I said at the beginning, while a rebrand in general is a pretty huge deal, it is, in this circumstance, in this instance, also kind of a non-event in some ways. I don't want to diminish it, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, nothing's changing in such a major way.
Yeah, you're not going to suddenly need to have an extensive knowledge of Klingon in order to be able to enjoy our content, especially because I can't speak it because I've never watched Star Trek.
You just passed on the pronunciation of Klingon.
Oh, I didn't even know there was different ways to say it. Now I feel not geek enough.
You're not geek enough, get out.
Not on a Star
Membership
Trek
geek and the other one.
Yeah, we're not niching down to only helping other geeks with their memberships, leaving all you non-geeks or normal level-headed folks to slough it out on your own. We're still going to be open for everyone. We're just going to be having a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah, it's a couple of people who just so happen to be geeky, who are geeking out about memberships with you people, who are also geeking out about memberships. So this is really more of an ongoing evolution and a progression of what we've been doing anyway, and some of what you're already seeing and hearing from us. So going forward, you will see a lot more of us, particularly the two of us together. And you'll definitely see us being more active and more present on our social media channels too. But apart from that, the only other stuff that changes, other than the visuals, of course, are things that we were planning anyway. And there's two main things on that front.
Yeah, first of all, you'll see us producing a lot more content on YouTube. Tutorials, reviews, comparisons, tip videos, lots and lots of good stuff coming. So if you haven't already, go and subscribe to our channel. You'll find the link in today's show notes at membershipgeeks.com/339.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more on YouTube. We've dipped our toe, we've dabbled, we've kind of done stuff for limited periods, and we're already kind of building a nice little following, a nice little community over there on YouTube. So I'm really looking forward to really putting the foot on the pedal with that and getting more fantastic content for you over on our YouTube channel. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and more importantly and more relevant to all of you listening, we are, of course, making some changes to this podcast. I know. Crazy. First off, we're going to take a little break. The first time we've ever done this. First time since July 2015 that we've actually taken a break from this show. Feels weird.
It's crazy.
Feels scary. But we're going to take a little break for a few weeks until February, so the beginning of February, just in order to freshen things up a little, new intro, new podcast artwork and so on, but mostly to record our new batch of episodes with an updated format.
And the biggest change there is that the Membership Geeks podcast will actually be hosted by both Membership Geeks. That's right, I'm getting a full-time role.
She is. She has proven herself. Her 7-year probation period is over. She's had enough guest appearances. And what a crazy concept, right? Membership Geeks podcast hosted by both Membership Geeks. That's just beggars belief. It's stunning. So I'll no longer have to. It's going to take me a while actually to get out the habit of kind of saying, I'm Mike Morrison, one half of the membership guys. So yeah, I no longer have to explain why it's just me hosting the show. We are now going to be hosting it together. So we'll be combining forces to give you those proven practical tips and advice for growing your membership that you've come to expect each and every week. And we will still be publishing each and every week. So now we'll be host and co-host. I'm the host. You're the co-host, right?
I'm not sure I agree to that. That's like being an assistant regional manager.
Yes, assistant to the regional manager.
Maybe. So yeah, you're still going to have some great episodes focused on tips. You're also going to get a bit more kind of discussion with Mike and I on certain things that we disagree on in particular when it comes to memberships, which normally only members are privy to those disagreements. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. But not only that, we're also going to be shaking things up a little bit, and we're going to be bringing on some regular experts whose brains we'll be picking to get you the absolute best insights and advice on a wide range of topics that'll help you in your membership business as well. So there's still going to be a lot where it's just us, but there's also going to be other people involved too.
Absolutely. And, we've had some fantastic guests on the show in past years, but it tends to be an every now and then kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to actually lining up some fantastic experts on topics we've either not covered before, or it's been years since we've covered them, topics that maybe we don't actually know anything about. Bringing in some experts for your benefit to help you, implement new stuff into your business. So that's the second shift. The third shift in the podcast format is a one that's a little bittersweet.
It is.
It's sad, a little sad, with Callie joining the show as co-host.
Yes.
Or assistant to the host.
No.
That does mean that there will be no more seasons of Behind the Membership.
Sad times. Sad times.
It is.
It is. For those of you who are not subscribed to Behind the Membership, it's a seasonal show where I talk to existing membership site owners about their membership journey. So how they got started, where they are now, the ups and downs along the way, their top tips and all of that good stuff. And we've done 5 seasons so far, so there's a season each year. But the last season, season 5, is ultimately going to have been the last.
Yes, it is sad times. That's the bad news. But the good news is that this show will now feature a Behind the Membership interview each and every month.
Woohoo!
Yay! I think so. It's a little bittersweet to wave goodbye to Behind the Membership as its own kind of separately branded show, and as something that we do once a year. But we're actually going to be bringing more fantastic interviews, one every month, diving deep behind the membership. So you're not going to have to wait a year between each season. You're going to be hearing in-depth stories and case studies and journeys and ups and downs and insights and lessons learned and all that sort of stuff every single month right here on the Membership Geeks podcast. We're both very, very excited for what lies ahead for this show. Not only are you getting to hear from both of us, so now you get the monkey and the organ grinder, which is
I'm not sure how to feel about that.
I mean, you can't see me, but I'm motioning to you as the organ grinder. That's usually that's the compliment. I'm the monkey.
I'm not sure anything referred to as an organ grinder is that complimentary.
I mean, it's better than what I've previously called you.
That is true. That is true. Let's go with that.
Yeah, so you'll be getting both of us, and you'll also be hearing from leading experts and your fellow membership owners too, all in one place.
Yeah, so we'll have our very short hiatus for a few weeks to make all that awesome stuff happen, and then we'll be back in your earbuds in early February with the all-new Membership Geeks podcast.
Absolutely, and if you're already subscribed to this show, then you don't need to lift a finger. All of the changes will happen automatically for you. If you're not subscribed, now is the time to hit that button in your podcast app to make sure that you're the first to know as soon as we return in February.
And of course, you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from the Membership Geeks across all of our communities and our social channels in the coming weeks and beyond as well. So make sure you're subscribed anywhere that you're interested.
Absolutely. So, for one final time, let's say a fond farewell to the membership guys.
I feel like we should have had some violin music.
We should have some violin music. I mean, we're recording this on the Christmas break. I'm not going to edit in any violin music. You can just imagine a tiny little violinist playing.
We're only just above chocolate coma at the moment.
Yeah, just. So we're bidding that fond farewell to the membership guys, signing off for the final episode of the Membership Guys podcast, and getting ready to say a big, big hello to the Membership Geeks. And we will be back with you after a short break, so we'll see you then. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Guys podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. The Membership Academy is the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a membership website. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be, or whether your website's already up and running and you're just looking for ways to grow it and attract new members, then the Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. With our extensive course library, step-by-step membership roadmap, exclusive member-only discount perks and tools, as well as our supportive, active community that will help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice, the Membership Academy is the perfect place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. check it out at membershipacademy.com.